So today we're going to be talking about order of operations, and you can kind of compare order of operations to when you're first maybe learning to drive a car and you come to an intersection with a red light and there are a lot of cars on either side of the road in the four different directions, and you have to know what order did the cars go in. And so we have stoplights, right, to show us when it's our turn to go. And the order of operations is just a set of rules that we use that show us what order to do math in. Often when you come to a math problem, there's more than one thing they're asking you to do. Sometimes you're only multiplying, but sometimes you're multiplying and you're adding, and you have to know what order to do that in so that there's no guessing and so that everyone gets the same answer, because depending on how you do an operation, it will change the final answer in your problem. Okay, so we call this order of operations, and all that means is when simplifying an expression that has multiple or more than one operation, and by operation I mean add, subtract, multiply, divide, those kind of things, then you must follow the correct order. All right, when you come to a stoplight, you have to wait until it's your turn, right? Okay, so you've probably maybe seen this before. We call this Pemdas. And each of these letters stands for one of the operations, and they show us the order you do the operations in. So P stands for parentheses, and we call it parentheses, but it really could be any type of grouping symbol. So parentheses are kind of these curved lines, but we can also have something that's more square. We call these brackets, and we kind of have these sort of really curvy ones. Those are called braces. Any number or operation that comes inside a parenthesis or a bracket, any type of grouping symbol, that's where you're going to start the problem. All right, so once you take care of the parentheses, and then you would move on to the next operation, and the letter that comes after P is E, and it stands for exponents. Now, for now, we're not going to really go into what an exponent is. You'll see this a little later in the year, but just so you would recognize it, an exponent is when you have a number, like a larger number, with a smaller number written up and to the right. And so we're going to find out what that means later in the year, but that would come, you would do all your exponents after parentheses. Then after you take care of those two, you have M that stands for multiplication. And you have D that stands for division. And I would just point out that multiplication and division, the M and the D, right, instead of going P, E, and then M over D, right, M and D are right next to each other. And that's on purpose, because you don't do multiplication before division. You do those in order from left to right. So even though M is listed first, if I see a division problem and it comes before multiplication, I'm going to do division first. So these are kind of on the same level, all right, because you can do either one of them depending on which one comes first. All right, so then after you take care of all the multiplication and division, you would look for the A and the S, which stand for addition and subtraction. And notice again, A and S, or addition and subtraction, are kind of on that same level again. And what the reason for that is because you also do addition and subtraction from left to right. You're not always going to do addition before subtraction. You're going to look at the problem just like you read a book left to right, and you're going to see which one of these operations comes first, and then that's the one you're going to do first. And this will make more sense as we do some examples. And then at the very bottom here, I want you to see where it says, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." That's just another way to remember this order of operations. So you can see the P for parentheses, the E for exponents, the M and D for multiplication and division, and then the A and the S for addition and subtraction. All right, so let's practice using these. On the first one, it says 12 divided by, and then in parentheses, 5 minus 3 plus 2. So since I have many operations going on here, I know I need to follow the order of operations, and the first thing I look for is parentheses or any type of grouping symbol. And I can see inside, right, these parentheses, there's actually more than one thing to do here. So I'm going to ignore the rest of the problem and only focus what's inside the parentheses. Because there are multiple operations inside the parentheses, I still need to follow the order of operation. So the two operations I have are subtraction and addition. So that drops me all the way down here. And this tells me that when I do addition and subtraction, I do them from left to right. So since I have both, I'm reading a book left to right, which one of these do I come to first? I come to the subtraction first. So that's the one I'm going to do first. I'm going to underline the operation that I'm using because that tells me that's the only thing I'm focusing on this first step, and then everything else will stay the same. So that tells me to also rewrite everything that I haven't changed. So I haven't done anything with 12 divided by. I'm not going to finish what's in parentheses because I'm still going to have the plus 2, so I'm going to keep the parentheses. And then I'm just going to do this part. What is 5 minus 3? 2. I'm going to bring down the plus 2 and the rest of the parentheses. All right, so I'm still on this first step because I still have parentheses to take care of. Inside the parentheses, I have addition only this time, so there's no order. It's the only thing left. I'm going to do it. 2 plus 2 would be my next step. That's going to be 4, and then I'm going to rewrite everything I haven't done yet. And I don't have to put the 4 in parentheses because there's no more operation to do. And then the last step is just to finish up the 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And you'll notice that as you do these order of operation problems, that the more steps you take, the smaller the problem gets. So some people look at this and kind of think of a pizza slice. It starts off wide at the top, and then as you get lower, it becomes more narrow until you finally get to your answer, 3. All right, if you take a look at number 2, it says 16 divided by 2 plus 3 times 6. So this problem, there are no parentheses, so I can skip that. There are no exponents, so don't see any of those. And then I do have multiplication and division, and I have both of them. And since I have both of them, again, I have to follow the rule left to right, not multiply before divide. It's whichever one comes first. So as I read this problem going this direction, left to right, the first operation, the first multiply or divide I come to is actually dividing. I used to tell my class, if you walk into your house at home and you're wanting to go outside and play with a friend, who are you going to ask first? Your mom or your dad? Well, it's probably whoever you see first, right? So in this case, division's like dad and multiplies like mom. So if I come into my house, who am I going to see first? I'm going to see dad first. That he's the person I'm going to talk to first. I'm going to do division first. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'm going to replace that part with 8. And then I'm going to keep everything else exactly the same. Plus 3 times 6. All right, so I still have adding and multiplying here. So when I look at this list of operations, I can see that multiply comes before adding. So I'm going to keep doing multiplying. So 3 times 6 is 18. So I'm going to rewrite that. And then the last operation to do is just adding. So if I add 8 plus 18, you can add that up in your head, or if you don't want to do it in your head, you can just do it out to the side. So this becomes 26. That's my final answer. And again, you can kind of see that pizza slice you have going there. Look at 3. 3 says 8 minus 4 plus 5. And then you have this dot here, which hopefully you know by now means multiplication. So there are different ways to write multiplication. As you get closer and closer to algebra, you're going to see the X that we used here less often. What you're going to see more often is the raised dot is what we call it. It means multiply. So I have subtraction, adding, and multiplication. So I can see subtraction, adding, and multiplication. So in this order, right, multiplying is going to be the first operation. Starting there, 5 times 6 is 30. Everything else remains the same. And now I have subtraction and addition. So that's down here. So again, these are on the same level because I do them left to right. All right, so again, it's whoever I see first. I walk into my house, right? And who do I see first? Do I see adding or do I just see subtraction? And so I see, right, 8 minus 4 first. So I'm going to start with that one. 8 minus 4 is 4. And then I'm going to bring down plus 30. That's the last operation. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. 4 plus 30 is 34. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay, and I would encourage you, don't try to skip steps, right? These problems should take time to work out because you need to think about each step, do each step separately before you get to your final answer. If you try to do it all by skipping steps, you're going to either do things out of order or you may forget to do something. Look at number 4. So on number 4, I know that my first order or my first operation I always do at the beginning is parentheses. So I can see that I have 2 sets of parentheses here. So I need to do both of these first. before I do the operation between them, which is division. So I'm going to kind of pretend these are two separate problems until I get rid of the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, I can see that there are still multiple operations. So I'm still using Pemdas to solve this. So I have subtraction, adding, and that dot again means multiplication. So which one comes first in my list? Multiplication. So that's where I want to start. I'm going to do the 3 times 4. Again, I'm not going to be able to finish up the parentheses yet, so I'm going to keep it. 3 times 4 is 12. And then on this side, because I have another separate set of parentheses, I can go ahead and get this one started as well. This set of parentheses has subtraction and addition, which again are on the same level, but it's who do I see first? So I'm reading my problem from the left. I see subtraction first. What is 6 minus 3? 3. That's going to stay in parentheses because I still have the addition part to do. All right, if I go back to my first set of parentheses, right, all that's left is subtracting and adding. That's down here, but it's in order. So when I walk in, who do I see first? I see subtraction. I'm going to start there. What's 10 minus 2? 8. And I keep the plus 12, keep it in parentheses because it's not done yet. Bring down my division. And then on this side, 3 plus 2 is all that's left to do, so I don't have to worry about what order. What is 3 plus 2? 5. And then it's going to stay 5, so I don't need the parentheses. On this side, I want to go ahead and finish up what's in parentheses. 8 plus 12 is all that's left, so just add those. 8 plus 12 is 20. And bring down the divided by 5. And that's my last operation, so go ahead and divide that. 20 divided by 5 is 4, and that's going to be your final answer. So here we go. Look at number 5. So 5 is an example of a problem that has more than one type of grouping symbol. Remember up here you have multiple types of grouping symbols. So I have the brackets on this outside, and then inside the brackets I have parentheses. So this the brackets are just saying start here, and then inside the brackets I still follow my order of operations. So inside the brackets, the first thing I need to do is the parentheses. All right. So inside the parentheses, I would add 7 plus 3. That gives me 10, and that's all that I have to do inside those parentheses, so I don't need these curved ones anymore. I can just keep the outside ones. And then I have divided by, and then I have another set of parentheses. So since these parentheses aren't attached to these, then I can go ahead and take care of this. 3 times 3 is 9, and that's all to do, so I'm going to keep that outside. I'm not going to rewrite the parentheses for that one. Then I'm going to go back to my brackets, still needing to finish that up, and then inside those I can see multiply and I can see add. So which comes first, multiplying or adding? Multiplying. So you want to start there. 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, and I'm not quite done, so keeping that separated using the brackets and then finishing that up by adding. 4 plus 5 is 45. Bring down the divided by 9, and now I'm ready to divide. So 45 divided by 9 is 5, and that's going to be your answer. On number 6, again, I have more than one set of grouping symbols, so I'm going to start by looking at what's inside my brackets, and then inside my brackets, I see parentheses, so that tells me that's where I start. And then inside my parentheses, I see multiplying and dividing. That's up here, right? Multiplying and dividing, same level. So who do you see first? If you walk in your house, who do you see first? Mom or dad? Okay, this time mom. So I'm going to ask her about going outside to play. All right, so I'm going to multiply first. Keeping that in parentheses because there's still the division part I need to come back and do. And the plus 10, nothing to do outside there. It's just going to hang out until we're done with what's inside the brackets. Okay, inside the brackets, again, I can kind of ignore everything else until I take care of what's inside here. I have subtraction, division, but because this is in parentheses, right, have to start with my parentheses. Keeping the 12 minus, 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now I don't need those inside parentheses, but I'm going to keep the brackets because that's telling me I need to do this part before adding 10. 12 minus 4 is 8. And now that part's done, so I don't need the brackets anymore. 8 plus 10 is 18. And that's my final answer. And then this last one, they've worked out the problem, but they're asking us to find the mistake. So remember, when you're following order of operations, you're using Pemdas, and it's easy to write out so you can kind of check it off. So the first thing I want to look for when I'm doing a problem, this problem right here, is that I should start by doing parentheses. Well, this problem has no parentheses, so I don't need to worry about that one. And then if I look for exponents, I'm not going to see anything with a little bitty number, so there's no exponents. I do have multiply, divide, right? I have this multiplication right here, so this is where they should start. So what is 5 times 12? Well, we can check it by multiplying. 12 times 5 is 10, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 60. So what I should see when I uncover this is 60 for this part, and then the minus 4 plus 2. Is that what I see? Yes. Okay, so that tells me there was no mistake in the first step. They did exactly what they should have done. So I want to check now and see, all right, so what is left to do is subtract and add. So there's no multiply, divide. I'm done with that. There was multiply, but I finished it. So now I'm looking at addition and subtraction. And this is not addition before subtraction. This is left to right, right? I'm doing addition to subtraction in order. So if I look at this problem from the left and go to the right, then the first thing I should do is subtraction, right? I should do the 60 minus 4 first. So what is 60 minus 4? So out to the side, I go ahead and subtract. That gives me 56. So if I do this part first, then what I should see written below here is 56 plus 2. Is that what you see? No. Okay, so that tells me that was their mistake. So let's just look at it. What do you think they did wrong? Right? Instead of doing this part, the 60 minus 4 to get 56, they did this part, the 4 plus 2. So they added when they should have subtracted, because 4 plus 2 gives me 6. And then they did this part and got 54. If they had done what they should have done, if they had done 60 minus 4, then we would have gotten 56 on this one. And then I would have brought down the plus 2. And then I would have added this to get 58. So you can see why the order of operations is important, because they just messed up this one step, right? And then they got the wrong answer. It's similar, but it's not the same, and it's not close enough, right? This should be your final answer. So to find the mistake, this is it right here. Okay, and we just describe what happened. They subtracted. Actually, what they did is they added before subtracting. Okay, so we could say you should subtract before adding, because it is, that's supposed to be an S, is furthest to the left. Right, so the reason they should subtract first in this case is because it's furthest to the left. It's who you see first, and then you would add. All right, so that's order of operations. So you can remember Pemdas. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Look for parentheses first, or any type of grouping symbol. Exponents we'll talk about more later, but that'll come after parentheses. If there's multiply and divide, remember you do those left to right. If there's addition and subtraction, do those left to right. And then don't forget about this multiplication symbols. You might see the X, but as we get closer and closer to algebra, you're gonna see the dot more often. All right, see you soon.